energy than that. Y'all, there was some good music, there's a lot of food. I want to hear some noise. How y'all doing? All right, that's a little bit better. I need to make sure you're listening, need to make sure you're awake. So, I don't want to misrepresent my introduction. I'm not actually here to talk about me a lot. This is a community event. I want to talk a little bit more about the community. But I am going to pay some honor to the introduction. Let you know, my name is Devon Scott. I'm running for mayor of Wilmington, North Carolina. Thank you. November 5th, 2019. You can also go early voting at Government Center on October 16th. So please take the time to be involved in the politics, because that's one of the easiest ways to be involved in your community. So where I come from is a place of wanting to represent the city. As a mayor, your job is to represent everybody, all 125,000 citizens of Wilmington, North Carolina. That's a big task, because if you haven't noticed, not all of us agree with one another most of the time. But that being said, there's a way to reach consensus. I've lived in almost every neighborhood in every part of town over my time being here in Wilmington, North Carolina since 1996. And I feel like I have the opportunity as an artist, as an activist, and as an entrepreneur working with small business to speak to a lot of things that we need. Mostly, what I see is that Wilmington is built of a lot of small communities, and those communities themselves have leadership and sometimes leadership struggles within them. And I want to make sure we empower our leaders to empower communities, to empower the entire citywide community of Wilmington, North Carolina. And that's why I'm here right now. That's why I'm not canvassing and campaigning in the traditional sense. I'm trying to be here in the community, because what we need to do is make a statement for everybody who runs for the next 25 years that this is the way you're supposed to do. You can't just show up, speak, and run away. You have to be involved in the community, because I can't ask you to be involved in the community if I'm not going to be involved in the community. You have to lead from the front. So you can have, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, but I want to talk a little bit more about community, because we're here to talk about the point of the event. We're trying to stop the violence, and we're trying to describe how that works. Now, I'm an actionable person. We can just say stop the violence and walk away and drop the mic. That's not enough. All right, y'all, let's go see. What I want to make sure is we have some ways, some calls to action for what we can actually do as a community. So first off, let's actually talk about what violence is, right? Because there are a lot of different types of violence, and almost all of us have witnessed or experienced violence in our communities or in our own lives in one way or another. And what violence is the intent to bring harm to another person through force. And you might say, if I ask you, do you want to be hurt? Or do you want to be hurt? Unanimously, we'd all 100% say no. And so the question is, why do we perpetuate violence? The answer is because violence perpetuates itself. We have this tendency, when we're passed the ball for violence, to pass it on to somebody else, to return it. When we're attacked, we attack back. And when we can't attack back, we take it out on somebody else, often our loved ones. Gang violence can become domestic violence. Domestic violence can become self-harm. And this perpetuation needs to stop. So my challenge to you, my first one, is to take the opportunity when you're presented with violence to drop the ball. So don't pass it along. Don't carry it. It's not your burden. It never has been. Walk away from it. Don't feed it. Find your safe places. And those safe places, again, coming back to this message, are in community. Now, there's another thing that's also viral, another thing that we can also do that also we perpetuate, and that's caretaking. Instead, the antidote to violence is to take care of one another. When you have the opportunity, bring yourself to take care of somebody else. And shouts out, by the way, I want to hear some hands going together for all the nonprofits, all the groups here, because that's where you have the opportunity to do that. Volunteer. Give yourself an opportunity to become the anti-violence by working with the people who are at the vanguard, who are on the front, to do the good work. Right? Be part of that. Be the change that you want to see in the world. All right? So I'm going to make a third point. I'm going to spend a lot of time here because it's actually my favorite point. Part of the reason we see so much trouble in our community with our children in the street, and if you're a child, if you're a kid, I don't even care if you're an adult. I actually want you to come over here and get real cozy, because this is a message I'm going to bring it to you. Part of the problem is that so often we're just not given something better to do. We fall into gangs and gang violence because we don't have another opportunity, and we fall for the first opportunity that's given to us. So find a goal, find something that's worth doing, and give yourself in devotion to that. Whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's your church, whether it's working with your community, and by all means, put family first. If it's serving your family, take yourself an opportunity to do that, because we go to gangs when we look for new families, but your family's right there. They've always been there and they're looking for you. So take that time. And if you want to know how to find those goals, actually let me talk about how to avoid getting off those goals, because a lot of us have tried to be on the right path, but we get taken off the right path. It's not hard to do, and so you're forgiven for that. But what that is the nature of distraction. Don't get distracted from your goals, because what distraction is the devil, because the devil's in the details, which details why we succeed or we fail. And when the details get too intricate, it's harder to be intimate when we start defining what is finite while divine is all is infinite. Because the great one told disciples that what's pleasant is the present, but distraction as an action holds us back from reaching heaven. I'm a poet, by the way. I like writing poetry to help me get some points across. And I have a few more poems about that. Big problem we have is that there's so many stresses in life. We are all inundated with things that are trying to attack us, trying to tear us down, trying to pull us away from our purpose. And we have to play the game of life differently. We have to turn it from a struggle to a game, because life is a game that we play. At least that's the cliche. Please say that there's more than game over, that there's something to show for living each day. Me? I've cut my losses against so many mini-bosses, but they'll never be the boss of me, though possibly more costly, because so far I've tossed a lot of quarters into life's arcade machines. And each stage just seems to be like parallaxing canvases with power-ups and damage in these pixelated pictures. And through 16 bitter years of anguish, what I found is what a man isn't quite what I imagined. And that level up just managed to make everything more damning. So now I'm staring at this menu. 10 more seconds to continue. Have you even got it in you? That's what we face. Have to figure out if we have it in us to continue. Raise your hand if you ever felt that way. When you're trying to do something, you're trying to do better for yourself, better for your community. Raise your hand if you face opposition. I should see more hands, because either that means you haven't tried yet, or that you're lying to me. All right? So I'm going to say one more thing, and it's going to be a bit of motivation, because we can escape cycles of violence. We can escape cycles of struggle, and it takes community, and it takes grit. And sometimes, even when things look like they're against you, let's say your dreams couldn't be done. No one believing you, believing that you even have it in you, so to leave you all alone, to succeed all your own, but how can it be done? You're just blood, flesh, and bone. So now filled and burning with gushing hot pathos, you set out on your own personal path, though nobody now knows what'll come to pass. Nope. And so your passion's gonna have to lead you past it. Starting is hard, but then again, so it's lasting, and the road is often laden with disastrous happenings, but there's a reason why the very final and last thing in Pandora's box was hope. We are designed in the image of God's creative creatures. We are featuring a cognitive mind, and so to limit it has got to be a spiritual crime. I am a lyricist creating visions, let there be light. And nobody already convinced it can't be has got the right to interrupt those who are attempting. So if your heart erupts and it becomes unrelenting, choose to let your muse lead into your objective. Follow your ambition led by your own volition, because it's time to ask forgiveness instead of asking permission. Listen to your heart. Don't miss it on your part, because you're on a mission, busy living a lie. And living for another is you're forsaking your life. And if I can't be myself, am I even surviving? With my life to gain, nothing to lose if I try. Put tar and feathers on my back, because now I'm ready to fly. Alright? Fight through the persecution. Fight through the struggle. I'm going to let you know again, find a chance to volunteer. Let's put an end to the violence. Let's put an end to everything that's degrading our communities. Feed back into it. Let's work together. Again, my name is Devon Scott. I'm an artist, an activist, entrepreneur, and a mayoral candidate for November 5th of 2019. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Yeah.